Bring in criminal defense attorney Jo-Anna Nieves. Listen, Michael and Jo-Anna, I'm having a hard time listening at this point because he's saying, oh, I should have just stayed there and got the lawyer to deal with custody. You think? Regardless of the reason that this jury finds he did it, he shot and killed his girlfriend, the mother of the two children. But we see none of that emotion in this interrogation video.
Right, Judge Ashley. And the other thing is, like, he's so calculated in what he's saying. He's asking, like, is this a trap question? What are you really getting at? I feel like you're trying to get something out. So rather than seeing the emotion, you see, like, that deliberate calculation in his answers that I find that the jury is going to view as pretty off-putting when you're in the middle of explaining why you shot the mother of your children in the head.
Yeah, I don't see how they just don't reject this whole thing out of hand. You know, this idea that, I mean, he seems to blame her for everything. But let me ask you this, Jo-Anna, is there a scenario, and we know that you do have a right to use deadly force to protect children or someone else from being kidnapped. I haven't quite heard that scenario in his description, but certainly there is a scenario where that would be okay.
I agree. I think we're lacking in some facts at this point. You know, one of the things that stands out is, he turns and gets this gun and grabs the child out of her hands and then pulls the trigger and shoots her. Even if it's simultaneous, what we're dealing with is his prior mentions that when he tried to pull the child, it was in a bear hug and he couldn't get her away. We're going to have to see whether or not his actions were proportionate in this defense claim. And when you hear that he was able to pull the child away, there may have been a number of other steps he could have taken besides shooting her in her head.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't see how the mother's actions, as he describes them, rises to the level of the assumption that she's going to be kidnapping your kids. So that's one of the problems I think the jury is absolutely going to have.
And I agree with you. And Jo-Anna, that was my exact question for you, because I also found that he was blaming her for the way she was. He even made the statement, and I wrote down the quote, I'm like the mom and the dad having to raise a good child. So I started to feel like this is not a kidnapping. This is a custody. I don't like the way she is with my kids. And then he chose to kill her. Will the jury perhaps read it that way?
I do think that there's going to be this kind of perception of him being fed up that she's in his house, fed up that she won't leave, fed up that he's the one that has to play both roles, and that he just reached this point that this was the action he decided to take. I wonder what the defense is going to do here in terms of maybe playing into the PTSD military veteran role to try and humanize him and explain the conduct, because otherwise I think the jury is going to have a struggle accepting this defense.